calling for trial the people versus Kevin Cuss. Mr. Cuss, come on up. You can have a seat right there, sir.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, and are the people ready to proceed on this matter?
Yes, Your Honor.
Will you be calling the one trooper here?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, sir, do you have witnesses? Are you going to be presenting any witnesses to the court?
I do not, Judge.
Okay. Ms. Zinsher, call your first witness.
Other people would call Trooper Megan Nicoletti.
Come on up, Mr. Trooper Nicoletti, right here. Your hand on the Bible. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, Trooper?
I do.
Okay, you're sworn. Go ahead, state your name, Trooper.
My name is Trooper Megan Nicoletti.
Okay. Go ahead, Ms. Zinsher.
Thank you, Your Honor. Trooper Nicoletti, by whom are you employed?
I'm employed by the New York State Police.
And how long have you been with the New York State Police?
I've been with the State Police since March 28th of 2016.
And what's your current title there?
I'm a trooper.
And were you employed as a trooper in June of 2018?
I was.
And now as a trooper, are part of your duties enforcement of the New York State vehicle and traffic law?
Yes, that's correct.
Does that include enforcement of posted speed limits?
Yes, it does.
Have you undergone any training in regard to enforcement of vehicular speed limits?
Yes, I have. In the State Police Academy in Albany, New York, I received 26 weeks of intensive training. One of those portions was in vehicle and traffic law. During that time, I was trained in visual estimates and radar.
And so turning specifically to visual estimates of speed, was your ability to independently estimate the speed of a vehicle ever tested?
Yes, it was.
And how so?
In the academy, we received instruction on how to visually estimate speeds of vehicles. We had to estimate the speeds of approximately 200 vehicles during that time. Those speeds that I estimated had to be within 5 miles, 3 to 5 miles per hour, under or over the speed limit of the vehicle in question.
And subsequently you passed the
Yes,
academy?
I did pass my training.
Great. Okay, so do you recall, were you working on the morning of June 18th of 2018?
Yes, I was.
And in your capacity as a trooper?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And where were you working then?
I was working on Van Buren Road in the town of Van Buren.
Were you working alone?
No, I was not. I was working with Trooper Zayas, who is also from my station of SP Lysander.
Okay. And where were you physically located?
I was physically located outside of my vehicle with Trooper Zayas on the shoulder of the roadway, next to a tree line. We were almost directly across from Ray Middle School.
And were you in uniform?
I was in my uniform that you see me in today.
And Trooper Zayas?
He was as well.
And did you have any sort of police vehicle with you?
We did have a police vehicle. It was, we actually had 2 vehicles. He had his Tahoe, I had the Charger that I was driving. They were parked on the opposite side of the roadway.
Okay. Now, do you know what the posted speed limit is in that area?
Yes, it's 25 miles per hour.
And is it always 25 miles per hour?
It's 25 miles per hour during a school, the school hours.
And do you know approximately when that is?
That's approximately between 7 and 6 p.m.
7 a.m.?
7 a.m. to 6 p.m., I'm sorry.
Okay. And to your knowledge, is the speed limit clearly posted there?
Yes, it's posted on multiple signs indicating that it's 25 during those hours.
And again, turning your attention to the 18th, do you recall what the weather conditions were?
Yes, it was partially cloudy. The roadways were dry.
Okay. Do you recall what the flow of traffic was like at approximately 9 or 9:15 in the morning?
The traffic was about medium, I would say.
And what does that mean?
There were other cars on the roadway other than Mr. Cuss's car.
Okay. Well, at about 9:15 a.m. on June 18th, did you observe a gray 2014 Toyota with the license HHP 4045?
Yes, that's correct.
And where did you see that vehicle?
I saw the vehicle traveling northbound on Van Buren Road. It would have been towards Maple Road, and it was traveling in front of Ray Middle School.
Okay. Was there anything obstructing your line of sight between you and the car?
No, there wasn't. I was right on the side of the road. There wasn't any shrubs, trees, nothing in front of me.
Okay, and so when you saw this vehicle, Did you observe the driver violating any New York State vehicle and traffic laws?
I did.
And what would that have been?
That was 1180C. It was speed in a school zone.
Okay, so were you able to determine how fast that car was going?
I was.
And how did you do that?
Visual estimate. I estimated that the vehicle was traveling approximately 42 miles an hour. And my estimation was actually confirmed by Trooper Zayas, who is operating a LiDAR, and he is certified on the LiDAR.
Okay, and again, your estimate was?
Objection.
Yeah,
Hearsay.
basis for the objection?
Hearsay.
Okay, want to lay a foundation for that? Is it because she said the
she's
other trooper
correct, and she's
had
testifying.
training in it?
So Trooper Zayas isn't here to testify as to what they said, and the
She didn't say
certificate,
what he said though, sir.
It-
You want
this-
to know the basis of her knowledge?
the
of
foundation
that?
for the LiDAR
Okay.
itself and his
Why don't
training.
you lay a little foundation for that, Ms. Insured?
Sure.
Granted.
Thank you.
So Trooper, you said that you're also certified in, or that you had some training in regard to detecting speeds with a radar device?
With a radar. He was using a laser device.
Okay. And had you worked with Trooper Zayas before?
I have.
And at that time, was he also operating a laser device to estimate speeds?
That's correct. He was operating a laser.
Okay.
Objection.
What's the basis for your objection, sir?
Foundation. We don't have a foundation for this laser device that Trooper Zayas was apparently operating that day.
Okay, why don't you lay a foundation for when that occurred?
I'm sorry, for what?
When she saw him operating the laser, is it because she said she had seen him operate it before, but she didn't say when?
She's
That's the
testifying
basis?
the operation of another trooper's
Oh,
laser
she
device.
saw it, so that's okay. And I get it that you want a foundation, so
Correct.
my guess is that you wanna know when she saw that happen before.
No.
That would be a foundation question.
Okay.
What's the basis of your, I don't wanna speak for you, but
The
go
basis
ahead.
is that we're talking about another trooper who was operating a laser device that she can't testify to as his training for that device.
She's not, she's saying that she saw him use it before, that's when you objected. So what is the basis for your objection for her saying
It
she
would be foundational
witnessed him?
for the training on the LiDAR for the other trooper.
Okay, she doesn't need to do that. yet,
Understood.
Okay, have a seat, sir. Denied.
Okay, so, excuse me for just have a second. Officer, going back to your visual estimate, when you estimated that the defendant was traveling at 42 miles, or that the Toyota was traveling at 42 miles per hour, was that vehicle traveling in the town of Van Buren?
It was.
Okay. And after you made that estimation, what did you do?
After I made that estimation, Trooper Zayas told me, he said he confirms it's 40 miles. Standing, and I did the point over technique since I didn't have the car to illuminate lights behind the vehicle. I did a point over technique.
What's the point over technique?
It's kind of when you stand, within a safe distance, and you get the driver's attention, and you point them over to where you want them to park their vehicle so that you can initiate a traffic stop.
Okay, and so you engaged in that technique, and did that car pull over?
Yes, the car did pull over.
And did you approach?
I did approach the car.
Okay. And upon approaching the vehicle, what did you do?
Upon approaching the vehicle, I identified myself as a state trooper. I explained the reason for the stop, which was speeding in the school zone. And at that point, I obtained Mr. Cuss's license, New York State license, that he provided to me.
Okay. And you confirmed to make sure that the picture on that license matched the individual driving that vehicle?
Yes, I did.
And is that individual in the courtroom here today?
Yes, yes.
And would you identify him for the court by pointing out an article of clothing that he's wearing?
He is wearing a gray shirt and a black tie.
Your Honor, may the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant?
Yes, Judge, or yes, excuse me, Ms. Insured.
Thank you, Your Honor. And Trooper Nicoletti, to your recollection, were there any passengers in the vehicle?
I do not recall any passengers.
Okay. Did you have any other additional discussion with the defendant?
I identified the reason for the stop. He provided me with this information, and upon writing the citation for the speed, I explained the ticket in full.
And again, what ticket did you cite? Or write?
It was a vehicle and traffic section 1180C, which is speed in a school zone.
And for, again, which violation? This was for traveling how fast?
For traveling 40 mile per hour in a 25 per hour school zone.
Thank you, no further questions.
Sir, do you have any questions for the trooper?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Excuse me, Judge, I must say that I don't have a law degree here, and I'm probably gonna
Pardon
make
me?
I don't have a law degree. I'm probably gonna make some missteps. Just bear with me here. Apologize.
You bet I will. Go ahead.
Trooper Nicoletti, you don't remember the day very clearly, do you? The
Objection,
day.
Your Honor.
You can spare cross-examination. Overruled.
Trooper Nicoletti, you don't remember that day you have the stop in question today very clearly, do you?
I don't think that's correct.
Trooper, do you remember the day very clearly in the traffic stop we're here to discuss today?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Isn't it true that you were actually parked in your car on the side of the road, as evidenced by my dash cam? And Trooper Zayas was actually on the side of the road operating the laser, hiding behind a tree, and that you had a motorist stop and were writing a ticket at the time that I was stopped by Trooper Zayas? I'm sorry, that was a multiple compound question. Can I ask that again, please?
You bet.
Isn't it true that Trooper Zayas was outside his vehicle operating LiDAR on the side of the road when he jumped into my lane of travel to stop me?
It's possible. I don't recall it that way.
Isn't it also true at that time you were seated in your vehicle with another motorist stopped who you were writing a ticket to?
I don't recall.
Wouldn't you, isn't it fair to say that you would recall if you had just testified you were outside your car standing next to Trooper Zayas?
I believe that I was standing next to Trooper Zayas.
I'm not asking what you believe, I'm asking you what you know. Do you know that you were inside your car when Trooper Zayas took a laser reading of my vehicle and jumped into the lane to stop me?
Objection, Your Honor. I believe asked and answered. She said,
Overruled. Go ahead,
Understood.
sir.
Were you in your vehicle when Trooper Zayas stepped into the roadway to stop my vehicle?
I do not believe that I was inside my vehicle.
You aren't sure, are you?
I'm doing the best that I can
Understood.
to recall
Take your
this
time.
matter. Yep, and I do not recall being inside my vehicle.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, we were pulling over multiple vehicles at
Yep.
that time.
Now you had your vehicle parked perpendicular to the road in a private driveway, correct?
That's correct.
And that vehicle was not obstructed by any trees on the side of the road, correct? From oncoming motorists.
I don't recall trees. I recall maybe like a power line.
May I can withdraw the question? More specifically, oncoming vehicles approaching your vehicle could clearly see you on a clear day, could they not?
I would say that that's a potential possibility. I know there were some other vehicles parked in some of the other driveways. We parked there purposely for the idea of concealing our vehicles so that cars, a far distance down the road wouldn't be able to see.
Understood. Now, Trooper Zayas' car was also parked in a private driveway alongside yours, parallel to yours, was it not?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, Trooper Zayas, when he first saw my vehicle, how far away? Now, you were not standing next to Trooper Zayas when he first observed my vehicle, were you?
I didn't understand that question.
You were not standing next to Trooper Zayas on the side of the road when he observed my vehicle, were you?
objection, Your Honor. How would she know when he saw the vehicle?
Overruled. Go ahead, you can ask it again, sir.
You were not standing next to Trooper Zayas when he first observed my vehicle, were you?
I believe that I was standing next to him at that time.
Do you believe that, or do you know that to be true?
I believe, I don't know how else you want me to say it.
Okay.
I believe that I was standing next to him, but like I had said before, obviously safety is our priority. I'm going back to the car multiple times.
If you were
We're
standing,
hearing the radio, we're checking for,
you've answered the question.
No,
I'm sorry.
let her finish.
Yes.
Okay, go
we're
ahead,
checking
Trooper.
the vehicles for some notifications that say that people are wanted inside the vehicles. We were running multiple traffic stops that day.
Understood. Now, when you first saw my vehicle, where were you physically?
I believe that I was standing on the side of the roadway.
If you were standing on the side of the roadway and you clearly remember that today, you would know that to be a fact, would you not?
It seems that I would, yes.
Can I point your attention to the ticket itself? I don't know if she has a copy or if I can approach and show this to her, Judge.
You could go ahead, yes.
This ticket here shows that you wrote this ticket based not on visual or direct observation, but on information and belief, correct?
Yes, that's correct. Would you like me to expand on that?
No,
Okay.
How far away, when Trooper Zayas observed my vehicle, he visually estimated my speed prior to taking a LiDAR reading, correct?
I can't speak to what Trooper Zayas.
And he's not here today, is he?
He wasn't able to make it, no.
He's unable to make it. How far away from you was I? How many feet separated you and I when you first visually started to assess my vehicle?
I do not recall.
How far away was my vehicle from you, or how many feet separated you and I when you completed your visual assessment?
I don't understand your question. How far
You-
away
you-
from?
When you
were
first saw my
when I-
vehicle and you
when I
began a visual
wasn't-
when you first saw my vehicle and you began a visual assessment, there was some amount of distance that separated you and I, correct?
I'm sorry, can you say it one more time?
As I was approaching Trooper Zayas on the side of the road with a
Okay.
LiDAR gun,
Sure.
when he first observed my vehicle, there was some amount of distance that separated the two of us, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
What was that amount of distance?
How far you were from Trooper Zayas?
Correct.
I don't know.
How far was I from you if you were standing right there next to him?
I don't know exactly how far you were away from me.
Can you give me any estimate at all?
I can't, no.
Okay. And when you completed your visual estimation, I'm assuming that I had continued traveling and that I had then closed the distance. How many feet separated us when you completed your visual estimation?
How many feet separated us from when you were pulling over?
When you completed your visual estimation?
Okay. I'm not sure how many feet. I
Okay.
visually estimated that you were traveling
Sure.
approximately 42 miles per hour.
Okay.
I don't know exactly how far you were away.
How long did you give yourself to complete the visual estimation? In time, seconds.
I don't recall.
Okay. You don't recall a lot about that day, do you?
I don't think that's fair to say, no.
Do you recall the details clearly of that day?
I believe that I do, yes.
How many feet separated us when you first started your visual assessment?
I do not know.
And you also don't know how many feet separated us when you completed the assessment?
I do not know the exact amount of.
And mathematically speaking, speed is a function of distance divided by time, correct?
I'm sorry.
And mathematically speaking, speed is a function of distance divided by time, correct?
That sounds accurate.
Okay, so when you first decided to visually estimate my speed, assuming that you did,
Mhm.
I must have been some distance from you. When you completed your estimation, some amount of time must have elapsed and some amount of time, distance must have been traveled. But we can't ascertain any of those facts here today, can we, from your testimony?
Well, I guess not.
You're not sure how fast I was going that day, are you?
You were traveling approximately 42 miles per hour.
But you're telling me now that you can't even begin to tell us how to visually estimate the speed of a car, correct?
Objection, Your Honor, that's not what was asked.
You didn't operate the LiDAR that day, did you?
Did I operate the LiDAR?
You were not operating the LiDAR that day to ascertain my speed, were you?
That's correct. I was not operating the LiDAR as I am not LiDAR certified,
Correct.
like Trooper Zayas is.
And you can't tell me in any way how you visually estimated my speed to any degree of certainty, can you?
I'm not going to sit here and tell you you were, approximately 300 feet away. I feel that you want exact numbers from me, and I'm not able to give you exact numbers.
Fair enough, fair enough. Now, when I was first stopped, was it obvious to you that I was driving a clearly marked Uber car?
No, it's not clear to me.
Do you notice the legally obligated sticker to be in the bottom passenger side corner of the windshield by law?
I do not recall seeing a sticker.
Did you notice two elderly passengers in the back seat of my vehicle?
Like I said before, I do not recall you having passengers.
Isn't that true because you didn't ever approach my vehicle?
That's not correct.
Isn't it true that I told you I was not speeding?
I don't recall exactly what you said. I know that I approached your vehicle.
Isn't it true that I only spoke with Officer Zayas until you came back with the ticket in hand?
I do not recall it like
Isn't it true? I told Officer Zayas I had my cruise set at 25 miles per hour, and I have that recorded on dash cam as I pointed out to him inside the car.
Objection, how would she know that, Your Honor?
Sustained.
She was standing right there, she claims.
Sustained. Next question, sir.
When Trooper Zayas decided to stop my vehicle, he did so by jumping into the lane that I was driving in, correct?
It's possible that he would have helped me flag down. When you do a point over, you have to walk partially into their lane. You do so safely. You don't.
I'm only asking you if it's correct he jumped into the lane of travel.
I don't recall exactly.
Miss? You're not?
I believe I was standing next to him. Yes.
Do you believe that to be true, or do you know that to be true because it is?
Objection, Your Honor, this is getting argument.
Sustained.
They never trained you, or academy training for a trooper does not advise troopers to jump into the path of suspected speeding vehicles to get them to stop, do they?
Objection, Your Honor, relevance, there's no testimony that that's what this officer did.
In the form of the question, yes, sustained. Go ahead,
Okay. The speed that Trooper Zayas was able to ascertain allegedly on his LiDAR was not the same speed that you visually estimated, is it?
No, it is not.
And you have no way to tell us how you did a visual estimation, correct?
Are you asking
Speed being a
question?
function of distance divided by time, you have not testified to any speed or distances, have you? Or any time or distances, have you?
I testified to the speed that I visually estimated you as.
And to visually estimate speed, we got to know what total distance traveled is and the amount of time, and we then divide one by the other, correct?
That sounds accurate.
And without either of those details, how did you possibly come to your assessment conclusion?
How to explain this? On the side of the road, I don't take the feet that you are away and divide it by the distance. Do you see what I'm saying? I don't sit on the other side of the road and I don't do a mathematical assessment. In the academy,
So
I was taught by my certified teachers how to visually estimate a vehicle. I then use my knowledge and my training with at least 200 vehicles that I assessed during the academy
understood.
to visually estimate the speed of your vehicle.
Now, without using distance or time to ascertain speed, we would essentially, an estimation would be nothing more than a guess, correct?
No, I don't agree with that. It's not a guess.
Well, then could you tell us what the distances I traveled and the duration of time it took me, please?
Objection, Your Honor, asked and answered. She can answer
Sustained.
that question.
Okay. I came to a complete stop safely when directed, correct?
Yes, you did.
I didn't hit the trooper, correct?
You did not hit any trooper.
I didn't even leave my lane, did I?
Did you leave your lane?
I did not leave my lane to stop, did I?
I don't recall you stopping in the middle of your lane, no.
Where I was stopped, there is no actual shoulder to the road, is there? The white line ends with a ditch about a foot over, correct?
That's correct. There's a ditch right on the shoulder there.
I was not directed to leave the roadway, correct? After being stopped.
You were not directed to leave the roadway to go down the ditch, no.
And I wasn't told to pull into any private driveways or off of the road even, correct?
That's correct.
So my vehicle was parked at least half, if not almost completely in a driving lane at that point, correct?
That's correct.
And I did not leave that lane to come to a stop from when I was driving and when the trooper jumped out to tell me to stop, correct? I stayed right in my lane the whole time, correct?
Objection to the compound question, Your Honor.
I never left my lane to complete a stop that day, did I?
You partially left your lane. I would say that your right tire was on the edge of the pavement. So the pavement, the ditch there, and I would say that your right tire was almost entirely, you moved over, I would say, as much as you could.
What I'm getting at is when Trooper Zayas, who was standing on my right when I'm driving at him, jumped into my lane, I'd never have to leave my lane to avoid hitting him, did I?
I don't recall you leaving your lane.
I never had to go into the oncoming lanes, correct?
I don't recall.
And other motorists for the duration of the stop, coming up from behind me, had to cross a double yellow to go around me at that point, did they not?
Are you asking during the
So
traffic
once I was
stop?
stopped,
Okay.
and my license registration was removed from my person,
Okay.
and then Trooper Zayas took those documents and walked over and handed them to you in your parked cruiser directly alongside me, I was left there in that parked driving lane for all oncoming vehicles to have to go into the oncoming lane to go around me across a double yellow. Isn't that true?
Objection, what's the relevance?
What is the relevance, sir, if other people had to go around you?
The relevance is just that there was many opportunities to put us all in a safe spot, and I was left in an unsafe spot, and it wasn't by Trooper Nicoletti, it was by Trooper Zayas.
Okay, how is that relevant to today?
I have no idea, but I'm
Okay.
grasping at straws here,
All
Judge.
right,
Give myself
okay.
the best events possible.
You got it. And you're doing well.
Thank you. Trooper Zayas actually, when he approached my vehicle, stated that he had me, and this is, Trooper Zayas, when he approached my vehicle, stated he had got me on a laser at 37 miles per hour, correct?
Objection, Your Honor, how would she know what
She claims she was standing right next to him.
What's the basis for the objection?
I mean, I guess if she heard, that'd be one. My objection is to the form of the question.
Okay, sustained.
I can ask the question again.
In a different form,
In a
yes.
different form, reform the question. Trooper Zayas, upon first speaking with me, informed me that he had me on laser at 37 miles per hour, correct?
Objection again to the form, Your Honor.
Trooper Zayas informed you that he had ascertained my speed through LiDAR to be 37 miles per hour, did he not?
That is not how I recall it. He
You
had
wrote
told
the
me it
ticket for
was-
40 miles per hour, did you not?
Yes, I did, and he had told me it was 40 miles per hour.
You did not actually witness the violation, the alleged violation, did you?
No, wait, can you ask the
I think
question
you've
again?
answered it. I have no further questions, Your Honor. I asked that I'm allowed to make a closing
There's more
statement.
to the
about-
case, sir.
Yep,
Okay,
understood.
that's just your cross. She's gonna get a chance to
Sure.
ask some more questions if she wants to. Ms.
I have no further questions for this witness.
You're all set on
I
cross?
don't think
No, Trooper, you
Sorry.
can't say anything. There's no question before you. Any more cross-examination?
For this witness, no, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Inchard, any follow-up?
Just briefly, Your Honor. So Trooper Nicoletti, can you explain a little bit more about your training in visual estimation with the Academy? What
Sure,
other techniques you were taught?
So during the academy, for the vehicle and traffic section, one of the things that we did, we went out in a marked division, New York State Police vehicle, with a certified trooper who walked us through visual estimates. We then practiced approximately 200 times. We had a sheet that we had to fill out with the estimated speed that we thought a vehicle was going, and then the trooper would inform us, okay, this is how fast they were traveling. So we would mark it down on the sheet. We did that approximately 200 times.
Can you explain at all any further how it is that you made those 200 estimations?
We were sitting on a highway. The car would approach. They'd be traveling at whatever speed they were traveling at. We would make the visual estimation. We would sometimes we would use radar to, as we were driving, to see what speeds different vehicles were traveling as we were traveling alongside them, to see what it was like to travel next to different vehicles. This is how fast we're traveling. Well, this vehicle is pulling ahead of us. How fast are they traveling approximately? And then once we did the moving portion, we'd again sometimes use the radar to test our knowledge back and forth.
So is it fair to say that you would sometimes use comparisons of other moving vehicles and other stationary items to help you make that determination of what the visual estimate was?
Sure, absolutely.
And turning to the date in question, I believe you testified that there were other vehicles in the area and there was a quote medium flow of traffic. And did that at all assist you in making your visual estimation of the defendant's speed?
Yes, that's correct. There were other vehicles traveling at the time of the incident, both directions, both southbound and northbound. There were other vehicles traveling behind Mr. Cuss's vehicle. He seemed to be kind of pulling farther away from them, which really led me to, it assisted in my visual estimate.
Now, in your normal course of conducting traffic stops with a partner, be it Trooper Zayas or someone else, are you always side by side with the partner for every step of the the stop?
No, we're not.
And so is it possible that Trooper Zayas could have had an exchange that you wouldn't have witnessed?
Yes, it is.
And just to clarify, you didn't say that there were no passengers. You said you didn't recall if there were passengers in this vehicle.
I didn't recall whether there was passengers.
Um,
I hadn't added it to my notes, and this was back in June.
and your notes are reflected in the supporting deposition?
Yes, that's correct.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Any recross, sir?
Yeah, I have a couple questions like to ask and
Alright.
request. On your visual estimation training that you just spoke of, what was the actual training you got to ascertain speed, if speed is a function of distance divided by time? Not the practice, just the training, the classroom training.
Yeah, we received classroom training. It was kind of broken up with sections, so there was radar, and like I said, we used the radar to help us assist in visual estimates. It was kind of like a combined training. There was some classroom time. There was, like I described, some field time. There was some testing that we did for radar, and obviously that's separate.
I'm going to redirect you back to just the visual estimation training.
Okay.
Speed is a function of distance divided by time. If that's true, what direction or instruction did you get to assess distance and time?
I don't recall exactly the specifics.
Would it be fair to say that you had none?
I don't think that just because I can't recall at this moment on the stand that it's a fair assessment to say that I received none.
Well, please, by all means, please tell us that training you got on assessing distance and assessing time.
Objection, Your Honor. It's argumentative and it's already been asked and answered.
Sustained.
Trooper Zayas was actually the one operating the LiDAR that day, not you, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And you didn't actually see the LiDAR readout, did you?
No, I did not.
You didn't perform the self-test that day, correct?
I'm not LiDAR
On that LiDAR
certified,
unit?
so I did not
Yeah.
touch the LiDAR.
You're not even aware if that LiDAR was certified to be in use, correct?
Do I know for certain?
You don't know that it was certified to be in use, correct?
Objection, Your Honor. She didn't use it. She wouldn't know.
Overruled, she may know if it's certified. Go ahead, sir.
You do.
Or go ahead, Trooper.
In my best knowledge, it is certified.
You have no actual knowledge that it's actually certified, do you?
With me today,
Correct.
absolute proof? No, I am not LiDAR certified. However, in order for Trooper Zayas to have operated it, it would have been absolutely certified, as is he, to operate it.
It's not out of the realm of possibility that the certification could have gone out of date and nobody noticed, correct?
I think that's something that you would have to ask Trooper Zayas.
I think you're right, and I wish I had that opportunity. But you, again, are not aware if that radar was even properly certified on its last certification, are you? Or when that date was due.
Actually, it was a LiDAR that we used. We did not use a radar.
You are not aware when the expiration for the last certification of that LiDAR is, are you?
No, I'm not, and I am not. It's not something that I have to keep track of due to the fact that I'm not LiDAR certified.
You're not LiDAR certified, and you have no way of telling me how you visually ascertain my speed, correct?
Objection is not what's in evidence, Your Honor.
I'll let her answer it. Go ahead, sir. Overruled.
One more time.
You didn't operate the LiDAR, you're not aware of its certifications for operation, nor can you testify as to how you visually ascertain my speed, can you?
Objection again on the grounds that this is a compound question he was asking her.
I'll redraw it.
Sustained on the grounds of form.
You can't tell us how you ascertain my speed visually, can you?
Objection asked and answered.
Overruled.
I'm explaining it the way that I recall it. You were traveling northbound on Van Buren Road in the town of Van Buren. I visually estimated that you were traveling 42 miles an hour northbound towards Maple Road.
And I was
right in front of Donald S. Ray Middle School during 9:15 in the morning during a 25-mile-per-hour school zone, and that's how I remember it.
And you said in your prior testimony that I was traveling amidst medium or moderate traffic, correct?
Yes.
And that would have been, if you're on the side of the road, that would have been coming directly straight at you, correct?
No, that's not correct. I was standing apparently parallel to the road.
On the side of the road, correct?
On the side of the road.
So it would be coming towards you. I wouldn't be heading away from you, correct? Nor would I be going across your field of view laterally, would I?
I
I'd
need
be
to let
coming.
her answer the question.
Sorry.
One at a time, okay, sir?
Yes, Judge.
Can you ask the question again?
My vehicle was approaching you at the time of the alleged violation, correct?
Yes.
As were many other vehicles, correct?
There were other vehicles in the area.
But you could somehow see me pulling away from all the vehicles as we were all coming at you.
There were other vehicles.
But I wasn't traveling across your field of view, was I?
Yes, you were.
If my vehicle is down the road coming directly at you, it would not be going from left to right across your field of view, would it?
Can you ask that again?
If I'm driving straight at you down a straight road, you
Okay.
cannot possibly witness my vehicle go across your field of view from left to right or right to left, correct?
That's not correct. If I'm parallel, or I'm sorry, well, I'm standing. Okay, so I don't know how to explain this without just.
You're on the side of the road.
The road is here, and I'm on the side of the road. I can see you traveling by me. I guess I don't understand your line of questioning.
I was some distance away from you when you first visually observed my vehicle, yes?
Yes, you were some distance away.
And I was on a straight road coming directly at you, correct?
If you were coming directly at me, the way that I understand that is if I was standing directly in the road while roadway while you're driving towards me, and that is not correct. I was not standing in the middle of the roadway.
So you were standing 8 feet or so off the center of the road on the side with my vehicle now approaching straight at you, correct?
You were driving towards me, yes.
Okay, and as opposed to driving across your field of view where you're standing back off the road and you're watching a car go down the road by you this way, and you could see the car spread. You didn't have that view, did you?
I was on the side of the road looking at your car and other cars behind you. I guess I don't understand.
How much feet was...
I can see the distance. I can see that there's distance in between. Obviously, there's distance between all vehicles or it would be a car accident. So yes, I could see that there was distance between you and the vehicles behind you.
How much distance was between my vehicle and the one behind me when you first visually recognized my vehicle?
I don't recall.
How much distance was between me and the vehicle behind me when you ended your visual assessment?
When I ended my visual assessment, like I said before, I don't recall the exact amount of space.
You testified that I was separating distance between me and the person behind me, but you can't testify as to how much distance that even was at any point during that day or that stop?
I don't want to give you a number and have it not be accurate, so I'm not willing to just come up with a number for the sake of it.
Thank you.
You were definitely, obviously, if I'm 5 foot tall, you were obviously a good amount of distance away, or the vehicle behind you wasn't tailgating you by any means.
Thank you, Trooper. I have no further questions, Judge.
Redirect?
Briefly, Judge. Trooper Nicoletti, when you were undergoing your training with the Academy, was it a component of your visual estimation training that you had to estimate distances in feet?
Distances in feet? No.
Or yards, or give some sort of estimate of a distance in some sort of numeric length?
I don't recall that there was a time that I had to give a numeric length, like this car is, 5 feet away from me.
And yet you still passed your certification you passed the Academy, and a component of that was visual estimation of speed?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, no further questions.
Sir, any follow-up to that one question?
No, Your Honor.
I have a question, Trooper.
Sure.
So, when you're estimating visually
Yes.
how fast somebody is going, does it matter to you how far away they are from you? Can you do it if somebody's a mile away?
No, not if
Okay.
they're a mile away.
Can you do it if somebody's a half a mile away?
No, I have to have a good idea that they're close enough where I can see them clearly, see the outline of their vehicle.
And that's part of your training, at least to be able to see the person clearly in the outline of the vehicle, is that what it is?
Well, not the person driving,
Okay.
per se, but the vehicle, to see the full vehicle.
All right.
And to make sure that there aren't any vehicle, like say from too far of a distance, it could be like, depending on the plane, if there was a vehicle directly behind it, and it looked like
It's
one
flat
vehicle.
here on Van Buren Road though,
Exactly,
so there's no plane, right?
No,
There's
exactly.
There's no curves or anything like that. Was this a straightaway vision for you?
It was straight away.
Okay. He's asking you how far away he was when you first saw him. Give him an estimate. Give me an estimate of how far away he was when you first saw his car. I want to know.
Okay, I can give
Go
an
ahead.
estimate.
Go ahead.
Probably around, maybe 300 feet.
300 feet? When he first came into your vision?
Approximately.
Okay,
300,
and-
250 to 300.
And for how long of a period of time did you watch his car?
I would say probably for 20 seconds, 15 to 20 seconds.
Okay. And at what point did you pull him over? Was he right in front of you, or did you did he come up 20, 30 feet in front of you? How'd you pull him over?
I think he was right nearby, not too far away. I know that's not really very descriptive.
So is it right that you followed him visually for about 300 feet of travel
I'd say that's fair.
for about 20 seconds? Is that correct?
Give or take, I don't know exactly.
Okay. As part of your training as a trooper, were there periods of time that you were trained on lesser amounts of visual time and travel than that? 300 feet, 20 seconds.
Are you asking if I've ever done a visual estimate closer than that?
Yeah.
We did all different types of visual estimates, a little farther, a little closer. I'd say it's fair to say that.
A little longer in time and a little bit shorter in time.
Yes, I'd say
Okay.
that's accurate.
And these 200 times that you did it for the academy,
Mhm.
and how do you know that number? Is that an estimated number, or is it more or less?
I believe it's accurate. I believe it was 200. I remember it being a double-sided sheet, and I believe it was like 100 little sections on each side.
And did you have to do 200 accurately in order to pass the exam?
Yes, I do
Okay.
believe so.
So you had to give 200 accurate visual exams.
Yeah.
Been a trooper for 2.5 years.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And how many traffic stops have you done?
Ooh. Hundreds.
And how many of those have been for speeding?
Approximately 290.
And how many have been based on your visual?
I would say that every single one
Is based visual.
is a proponent. I don't like to write a speed unless I visually estimate that the vehicle is traveling at that speed. So if I use radar, the visual estimate is always there. It's always a secondary, because multiple times when you're using radar, there's 5 cars coming towards you, and the radar, unlike the LiDAR, which is, I believe, which I can't testify to, but I believe it's specific for each vehicle, which troopers guys would have to tell you more about. A radar gives you the results from all vehicles, so I would never write a ticket unless I was also using the visual estimate, because if I have 5 vehicles and one of them is going 65 on my fast and the other ones are around 45, I need to be able to visually estimate which one of those vehicles it was.
So at this point, you trust your visual more than a radar?
No, I'm not saying that. I'd
Okay.
say that it's something that we use in conjunction.
You didn't use a radar that day, though?
No.
Okay. Okay. I have nothing further.
Excuse
You
me,
want a
sir.
follow-up question?
I do.
Certainly,
I do.
sir.
So you testified now that I was 300 feet from you when you first observed me.
Approximately.
And how much distance had I traveled before you started your visual estimation?
I would say that I guess I would say I started my visual estimate as soon as I saw you. I'm not
Okay.
sure how
Fair
far
enough.
you traveled before I saw you.
Now, when you completed your visual estimation 20 seconds later, I had not already passed you at that point, correct?
I think you may have a little bit. I don't recall exactly.
Do you remember waving at me in my back window to get me to stop, or do you remember waving through my windshield to get me to stop?
I don't recall.
Do you remember Trooper Zayas stepping out into the lane to get me to stop, actually?
I don't recall in this particular situation, but it's
Okay.
often the tactic is to step out a little bit into the roadway. We're not trying to get hit, but
Sure.
you have to, kind of come out a little bit. So I think it's fair to say that he could have been in the roadway a little bit. I think that's accurate.
And it's fair to say that I didn't go much beyond him, if any, to stop, correct? Because you testified I didn't hit him.
Yeah, you didn't
Okay.
hit him.
So in the 20 seconds, I must have traveled 300 feet, correct? During your visual estimation, I traveled 300 feet in the 20 seconds.
I'd say that's
Okay.
probable, yes.
Are you aware that works out to be 10 miles per hour?
I did not do the mathematical equation.
I did while you were testifying.
Okay.
If I went 300 feet in 20 seconds, would you agree that 300 divided by 20 works out to be 15 feet per second?
If that's what you're telling me, I'm
We can just do
never
math. I can bring you my calculator if you'd like.
Without a calculator, but as I said before, the 300 feet, she had asked me for an approximation.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure exactly,
You agree that 60 miles per hour would be 1 mile per minute, correct?
yeah.
Okay. And there are 5,280 feet in a mile, correct?
I don't know for sure.
Okay.
I think that sounds accurate.
There are 60 minutes in an hour, right?
Yeah.
And 60 seconds in a minute, correct?
Yes.
Sir,
So
give you some leeway on
3,600 seconds per hour, 1 mile per hour would be 5,200 over 3,660 to figure out feet per second. And it works out to be 1 mile per hour is 1.466 feet per second. When I divide up what you told the judge here, 15 feet per second, it comes out to be 10.98 miles per hour. Do you understand that?
Sure.
Okay, so I agree that we were going 10.8 miles per hour that day.
I don't agree with that, but like I said, these estimations that I'm giving you are purely estimates.
And we only have your estimations to go off here today to ascertain my speed, don't we?
Today, yes.
Correct.
Zayas will be able to.
Unfortunately, we don't get a second shot at this trial, do we?
Objection, Your Honor, but
Sir, enough with the commentary.
That's all I have, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay. Did you have any redirect?
I do not have any redirect, Your Honor.
Any other witnesses?
Well, in that vein, Your Honor, I actually called the court to try to get an adjournment this morning on the basis that Trooper Zayas is out of town. He's out of town until the 22nd. I didn't know about that until yesterday.
Okay,
But now that we've started the trial, I was wondering if we could get a continuation so that people can call Trooper Zayas.
okay.
Objection.
I'm gonna give you a chance to be heard. So, did you subpoena him?
I did, Your Honor,
Okay. And when did you find out that he was on vacation?
this weekend, Your Honor. So
This
I didn't.
weekend?
He called the office this weekend. I didn't get the message until this morning.
Did you make an effort to contact the defendant to let him know?
I didn't have contact information for the defendant, Your Honor.
Okay. Sir, did you want to be heard on that request for an adjournment to have the trooper who was on vacation testify?
I do, Your Honor.
Okay, go ahead.
I'd be opposed to a continuation on the grounds that, one, I wasn't notified that we needed a continuation.
Okay,
My information is the same as on the speeding ticket. I did give the ADA up on the prior conference my telephone number. And if I wasn't able to make it here today because I was out of town, I don't believe that you would have offered me the same continuation without the requested
sure I will,
time.
but go
And I believe the
ahead.
trial would have gone on. And we all were aware the trial was today. We had over a month and a half to prepare for it.
Okay,
I took the time off from work today, went through the required motions to make sure I was here to do this, as did Trooper
what's your
Nicoletti.
offer of proof on what trooper would testify to?
Well, Your Honor, Trooper Zayas is the one who operated the LiDAR device. He is certified, upon information belief, he's certified to operate it. I believe he would explain what he did to calibrate it that day, or at least previous to this incident, and that he would be able to confirm that in fact the LiDAR did detect the defendant's vehicle moving at 40 miles per hour in the 25 mile per hour zone.
Okay. And what is the offer of proof of why that's necessary after the testimony of Trooper Nicoletti?
It's the people's position that Trooper Nicoletti's testimony is sufficient in of itself to prove the people's case beyond a reasonable doubt and to have met a minimum prima facie case and to have proved it beyond a reasonable doubt. I suppose it might be somewhat cumulative, but in light of the issues that the defendant raised in regard to how heavily you seem to be relying on the need for some sort of technological confirmation, I just wanted to cover all of the bases.
Okay. Your request is denied.
Thank you, Your Honor.
To adjourn this matter. Do you have any other witnesses?
No, Your Honor, the people rest.
Okay. Sir, do you have any witnesses?
I do not, Your Honor.
Okay, Trooper, you can have a seat. Thank you.
Thank you.
And do you rest, sir?
I had a final statement I wanted to make, but I don't wish to waste much of the court's time.
You're not wasting my time at all.
Thank you
Go
very
ahead.
much for letting me come in here and exercise my right as an American and a veteran. And today's actually Constitution Day. I believe the state has not proven their case beyond a reasonable doubt. On those grounds, I ask you to find me not guilty in this matter.
Why not? Why can't she testify? Why don't you buy what she testified to today?
Can I speak openly?
Of course you can.
I know the
Closing
troopers.
Statements about. She's testifying that she's watching you.
Sure.
You know.
I really appreciate the job our local police do, and I would hate to put somebody in a position to show they're perjuring themselves, but the trooper and I both know that some of the things she testified today might not be accurate.
Well, let's do it, sir, without trying to say that this
Sure,
trooper,
sure.
who
I
find to be very credible.
The trooper's very credible, unfortunately.
But you're calling her a liar in the same breath. So
No.
don't do that unless you really mean it, and that's the basis.
I
for
don't
what
know
you're
that
talking
she's
about
lying. I
today.
just don't know that she has the facts true to the case. Never did I see her that day until at the end of the traffic stop. I have the whole thing. I mean, I have 2 witnesses, and I have the whole thing on video. I've reviewed the video multitudes of times for every word that was said. Trooper Zayas himself is the only one who jumped out on the road, come up to me. He told me he had me on laser. I told him I think you got a different car because I have 2 witnesses. My cruiser's set. I've got the dash cam. He said, I'm sorry. License registration. He walked off. He took off from the scene seconds later. Trooper Nicoletti didn't approach me at all until the end of the traffic stop to hand me my license, my registration, and the citation. I know
Okay.
that she didn't witness any alleged violations. I know she wasn't operating a LiDAR.
Well, how do you know that? though?
Because I
She's
witnessed, because I saw the cars on the side of the road. I was watching the cops as I approached the scene. I assumed that Trooper Zayas was actually a person just jumping out into the road. I didn't recognize this to be a trooper immediately because how close to my vehicle he was when he jumped out in the road. At that point, I looked around to see what was going on, and I saw Trooper Nicoletti clearly sitting in a marked patrol car, and she was there the whole time. She never left that car. I watched. And I have the video. I mean,
Okay.
I'm an Uber driver. I video every moment of every day.
All
The
right.
dash cam.
Go ahead, Ms. Incher. Are you done, sir? Did you want to say anything else?
That was it, Your Honor.
Okay.
Just briefly, Your Honor, upon the credible proof that has been admitted before the court, I think people prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. There's, the trooper testified to that some of the techniques that she employed to visually estimate the speed. The court was very thorough in some follow-up questions about what exactly that was that entailed. On the facts that are before the court and the testimony that's before the court, there's no reason to find anything other than the defendant's vehicle was traveling at about 42 miles per hour in a 25 mile per hour school zone on during school hours at 9 o'clock, approximately 9:15 in the morning, and so the defendant should be found guilty of violating 1180C.
Okay. The court's had an opportunity to listen to Trooper Nicoletti's testimony in this matter and take detailed notes about the trooper's testimony. First, let me say that I find the trooper's testimony today to be very credible. And one of the reasons why I find her testimony to be credible is because she'll freely admit, I don't know, sometimes, okay? That's a tough thing to do. When you're a trooper and you're trained in things, to be able to say, you know what, sometimes I don't know the answer to those. Or I don't know the exact period of times, and I don't know the exact distance. But when asked to give an estimate by the court, she was able to get an estimate. Now, does the math add up? No, it doesn't, because it's all based on estimates of the trooper. Is her training remarkable and visual? Yes, it is. I find that her training is remarkable. Since I find that her testimony is credible, and I find that she had enough visual observations to make her determinations on that day, I find that you're guilty of the offense, sir. So therefore, I find you guilty of violating New York State Vehicle and Traffic Law, Section 1180C, and speeding in a school zone, specifically 40 and a 25, in the town of Van Buren on Van Buren Road. Did you want to be heard on the issue of the fine?
Yes, Your Honor. I actually went to the DMV to get a driver's abstract to bring in here today to show you.
Okay.
I had a clean record, and I left it home and didn't bring it.
Uber driver, huh?
Correct.
Okay. Ms. Incher, there's a
Yes, ma'am.
mandatory surcharge that I must impose of $93. Ms. Incher, did you want to be heard on the issue of the fine?
I did note that the defendant drives for a living.
Mhm.
He represented to the court that he is a veteran. The people recognize that the points on the license alone is a penalty, and so we otherwise would leave the sentencing to the discretion of the court.
Okay. When did you serve our country, sir?
9701, United States Army.
United States Army. Did you
Right.
go overseas? You stay here? What'd you do?
I did, but nothing for anything that's, I did 9 weeks in Bosnia, 63 days.
How long have you been an Uber driver?
I started driving for Uber back in July of last year in the very beginning. I've given over 3,000 rides, 3,200 at this point.
Okay, and your driving record is clean?
Spotless, and I can make sure I bring proof in tomorrow for you.
No, I take your word for it. How's that? Okay,
Thank you,
sir?
Judge.
There's a mandatory surcharge I must impose by law of $93. And on this offense, the minimum that I can impose as a fine is $180. That's gonna be the fine of the port, the minimum fine of $180, and the surcharge that I must impose of $93. Sir, how much time do you need to pay that?
7 days is plenty.
You can pay it by next week?
Yes.
To be paid on or before September 24th, 2018.
Thank you,
Court is
Judge.
adjourned. Thank you.